A forest in Madagascar, a giant island off the east coast of Africa. Just after dawn, a troop of ringtail lemurs rouse themselves for another day. It's September. Within the last 2 weeks, several of the females have given birth. This year's new arrivals include a most unusual infant. He's almost albino, but not quite. He has dazzling blue eyes, inspiring the scientists who study this group to call him Sapphire. He has two normal-looking playmates, a little male who is bold and boisterous, and a young female who clings tightly to her mother. This is the true story of Sapphire and the other ringtails, and their struggle for survival. Ringtails are creatures of habit. Every morning, after gathering together from a night spent in a favorite tree, an adult will lead the way up to the canopy for a sunbathing session. A huge and ancient tamarind tree is the arena for their morning ritual. On arrival, the adults scent mark to reinforce their claim to this treasured place. The others will slowly follow. The three young infants are just 10 days old. At this age, they are helpless, save for a strong grip, clinging on for dear life to mother's fur as she moves up to the treetops. The song of a leading male is the opening act of their morning assembly. Not only does it draw everyone in the troop together, but it carries a message across the forest to neighboring troops of ringtails, a statement of strength and possession. Ringtails are the most social of the lemurs. They are primates, and their ancestors were also those of monkeys and apes. Females are in charge, and lucky for this little male, his mother has high status. Sapphire's mother is not so high-ranking, so she often sits apart from the others. The little female is lucky. Her mum's at the top of the social ladder. Each lemur has a favorite place in the tree to relax, groom, and sunbathe. When basking, the males reveal their wrist glands, each a horny pad used to score the bark of a sapling when scent marking. As troops go, this is a large one of 27. It includes 8 mature males, but it's the females who, as the sun climbs higher, will lead everyone down into the cooler glades of the forest to feed. Although they are perfectly at home in the treetops, Ringtails spend more time on the ground than other kinds of lemurs. Their erect tails wave like banners to display their positions to one another. And as they travel, they scent mark, reinforcing their claim on this part of the forest. The first meal of the day is tamarind. It's the dry season, and the fallen pods are at their best, the seeds surrounded by sweet, nourishing pulp. At 10 days old, Sapphire can only suckle. One of the females has a set of twins. It's a rare event, and the prospects for their survival are not good. Born late to a low-ranking mother who will be hard-pressed to provide sufficient milk for them. For the other youngsters, the outlook seems rosier. There are few predators to worry about in a Madagascan forest. After feeding, mothers with young infants look for a quiet spot to sit. Sapphire takes the opportunity to explore. With his dazzling white body, he is unique among ringtails. He seems strong and feisty, venturing beyond his mother's reach. Well, for a moment or two. The bold young male is full of energy and curious about what Sapphire is doing. When so young, these first expeditions are a little perilous. A fall could injure them. The infant female never ventures far from her mother. The bold one has the makings of a daredevil. He is overconfident and quite a handful. Suddenly, the adults go on the alert. Something is bounding through their territory. Shifakas. They're a different kind of lemur that occasionally meet the ringtails on their daily rounds. They seem fascinated by each other. As animals in the wild usually only play with their own kind, these mixed games are quite special. The Shifakas move on to feed, leaving the ringtails to settle down to a siesta in peace. It's part of the daily routine to spend several hours in the middle of the day resting, an important time to be with close friends and family. a day goes by without any signs of rain-bearing clouds, and even the river where the lemurs sometimes drink is barely flowing. A week has passed. The daily routine of the troop normally takes them across the extent of their territory. The mother of the little daredevil settles to feed. Following her example, the others also stop. As the infants grow, they watch the actions of their elders carefully, learning by observation. The daredevil's mother wanders a few meters away, but he knows she won't go far. From his vantage point, Sapphire's attention is caught by something lurking in the grass. It's a huge boa, and it's creeping in the daredevil's direction. It was a lucky escape. Watched from a safe distance, the snake becomes an object of curiosity. But if it had not been spotted, it could have been a real threat. But Sapphire's education isn't over for the day. Brown lemurs. Living side by side with the ringtails, they're a familiar sight for the adults. They scamper through the forest like squirrels. One of the males has lost a limb, but the injury doesn't seem to hamper him. The noisy intruders have unsettled Sapphire, and he seeks reassurance from his mother. The browns feed in the same area, but the two kinds of lemurs seem to coexist happily, so there's none of the excitement that occurred with the Shifakas. Now that the ringtails have recovered their composure, they resume their foraging. Not far from where the twins' mother has settled down, the other mums allow their youngsters to form a playgroup. Rough and tumble games strengthen muscles and sharpen reflexes. They also bond lasting friendships. Despite his abnormal coloration, Sapphire is accepted by the other members of the troop as though he was any other ordinary lemur. The twins are still much too small to join in. They're lagging well behind the others in their physical development. Play session over, the little daredevil's mum seeks a quieter spot with her youngster. High above the ground, her hyperactive offspring still can't relax. The inevitable happens. Perhaps the fall will teach him a lesson. The brown lemurs are quickly on the scene. By a stroke of bad luck, he struck a log, and his injuries could be serious. Remarkably, even the brown seemed concerned. His mother is puzzled why her infant doesn't respond. Babies often fall harmlessly, but now the little daredevil hangs limply in her arms. Everyone in the troop is drawn by the unfolding drama. As he is too weak to grasp her fur, she carries him in her arms, something that ringtails rarely do, because their hands are not very dexterous. The mother is faced with a dilemma. On the one hand, she wants to return to the rest of the troop, while on the other, she's reluctant to abandon her offspring. Responding to the infant's cries, a male friend comes to the scene to console the distressed mother. He shows remarkable tenderness to both of them. Their attempts to revive the little infant seem in vain. But his mother won't give up. Having pushed the male aside, she tries once more to revive her infant. Perhaps by moving a little distance away, he might revive and follow. But now he doesn't even respond to her persistent calls. Finally, the troop moves on. Reluctantly, she follows them. Falling is the most common cause of injury among infant lemurs. The little daredevil was perhaps the strongest of the infants, but without fear, he pushed his luck too far. Another week has passed, and as usual, the lemurs begin their daily routine by greeting the rising sun in the tamarind tree. Sapphire is doing well and growing fast. So far, all the mothers seem to be coping with the needs of their infants, even in the drought conditions. His little female playmate is also making good progress. The little daredevil's bereaving mother still has swollen breasts. Against all odds, both twins are thriving, though pitifully small for their age. Yet another cloudless day. Still a critical time for the surviving infants, but providing their mothers can nourish them through to the end of the rains, they'll stand a good chance of making it to adulthood. The morning routine never changes. Sunbathe, travel, feed. The tamarind pods are still in good condition, and there are plenty of them. Sapphire is still dependent on his mother's milk. While she feeds, there's time for him to play. The twins are not yet ready for rough games, but the little female takes up Sapphire's challenge. And the more precarious, the better. Even if it does cause the mothers some anxiety. Have they learned nothing from their playmate's accident? At last, one of the twins, the little male, shows a desire to explore. It's now November. There are clouds gathering and a moist breeze, signs that the dry season is loosening its grip. Rain will bring relief to the forest, but it also can bring difficulties, chilling temperatures that can kill a less than hardy infant. The rains mark a turning point in the lemur's fortunes. A month has elapsed, the heaviest rains have passed, and the landscape is rejuvenated. The new generation of ringtails is on the road to independence. The female infant is now able to feed herself. And Sapphire too, although the tamarind, now old and sticky, is giving him some problems. The growing youngsters can now start learning the skills of adulthood. For the next few weeks, the forest will be bountiful. The twins are now so full of energy, they're out of control, and too much for one mother to handle. Rainwater has collected in giant snail shells. Some of the lemurs are quite adept at coordinating their fingers to use the shells as cups, and for those who watch, there's a new skill to be discovered. A bout of scent marking signals that the ringtails are thinking about moving. First, the youngsters must be marshalled. Being small, the twins still hitch a ride on their mother's back. But not all the lemurs depart. For some mysterious reason, Sapphire shows no inclination to follow his mother or the troop. He may have gorged himself too much on tamarind, but in any case, he seems strangely lethargic. At this age, it's up to Sapphire to follow the troop by himself. But now they are out of sight, and for the first time in his life, he's alone. The forest in which he was beginning to feel at home now assumes an altogether less friendly appearance. Without his companions, he feels insecure and vulnerable. Unfortunately, his calls attract the wrong kind of lemurs. A family of browns arrive in the tree above him. But although they're curious, they're interested in something else. Rainwater has collected in the crotch of a tree, and the browns use their hands to scoop up a drink. The one who has lost an arm can only lick surface moisture. Their thirst satisfied, they now become a little more inquisitive about Sapphire. The other lemurs are some way away and seem unaware of Sapphire's absence. But suddenly, his mother realizes her son is missing. She retraces her steps to look for him. Relieved to see his mother, Sapphire perks up. As the troop reassembles, the peaceful sounds of the forest are shattered by something unfamiliar. The once pristine forest of Madagascar is now fragmented, and many lemurs are already extinct. The presence of cattle indicates just how small the remaining areas are, surrounded on all sides by farmland. The cattle by themselves are no threat to the lemurs, and for the moment at least, they exist side by side. Up in the trees, orange cordia berries are ripening, and even Sapphire seems enthusiastic to follow the troop to feed. He relishes the juicy berries. The lemurs gorge themselves. But there is something odd about Sapphire. His stomach looks distended, quite unlike those of the other lemurs. The twins have become a remarkable success story. It is rare indeed for both to survive, and that's a tribute to the mother. Even at this age, when infants can fend for themselves, they'll try to suckle, and Sapphire is no exception. The continuing demands of the offspring causes regular weaning tantrums. Soon the mothers will start new families, so they're beginning to repel the advances of the demanding youngsters. Sapphire's mother's more tolerant, and he's reluctant to let her go. But the troop's moving on. The ringtails leave without Sapphire. He just watches them go. It is difficult to say why he remains behind for a second time, but clearly there's something wrong. The troop has discovered a curious fruit that emerges from the forest floor after the rains. Breaking into them is not easy, but once the tough skin is pierced, the fibrous flesh inside is easy to extract, and there's plenty of it. The young female notes her mother's way of dealing with it. So that's how it's done. The twins are close to weaning, but still stay close to their mother. Meanwhile, Sapphire has hardly moved and spends much of his time sleeping. Over the ensuing days, he spends increasing periods of time away from his mum and the troop. It is now a week later. Whatever is ailing Sapphire continues to sap his strength. His troop is far away. It's now the twins' turn to be rebuffed by their mum, and they don't like it. The male seems ready to accept the situation, but the female is anxious to stay close to her mother and continue to build an ongoing relationship. The little male is more interested in the fun and games going on down below. And it's not long before the little female joins in. There's a reason for all this vigorous play. Hormones are flowing, heralding a courtship frenzy that will put the social order into chaos. A female is in breeding condition, and the males sense it. Her musky odor drives them to do battle, but it's no ordinary fight. It's a stink fight. The weapons are their tails. Impregnating them with scent from their wrist glands, they'll waft the odor in each other's face. Ideally, it's a battle that ends without bloodshed. The female is the bereaved mother of the little daredevil. She'll only be sexually receptive for a short period, so she has no time to lose. As she parades on the forest floor, she stops to smear fragrant invitations on a thin sapling. A male soon investigates her scent, but already he has a rival. They prepare themselves for battle. But the rival loses his nerve and gets rid of his tension with some frantic scent marking. Not much of a contest this time. As the winner takes his lady, the loser watches in fury. And he continues to take it out on the sapling. The mating couple become the center of attention. For the twins, for the little female, and another couple engaging in their own pre-courtship. The losing male has trashed his sapling. Over the course of 2 hours, the winning male monopolizes the female to ensure that he alone fathers her next offspring. Far away in a dark glade, Sapphire is alone. His persistent calling for his mother has only attracted the attention of Shafakas. From his earlier encounters with them, he should know that they pose no kind of threat, but he's never had to face them on his own before. The shafakas mean him no harm. They're just curious about the strange white lemur down below. Despite his feeble state, he sets off to try to find his mother and the troop. When Sapphire fell, his mother heard his cry for help. Now she's worried. As there was no reply to her calls, she crisscrosses the forest to look for him and locates him quickly. But it's too late. Sapphire doesn't move. She climbs a branch overlooking the scene to sit quietly for a while. The mother of Sapphire's surviving playmate approaches to comfort her. The rest of the troop seem unaware of the tragedy. The fact that Sapphire didn't survive is no fault of his mother's. He possibly died from a weakness that he'd had from birth. While the troop moves on in the fading afternoon light, the grieving mother is left alone to watch over her son's body. She'll stay here all night. Daybreak. She has barely moved. After her all-night vigil, Sapphire's mother is torn between staying with her son's body and leaving to join the troop. Finally, she is drawn to the ancient tamarind tree by the male's song. For the rest of the lemurs, it's just another morning. Despite the tragic loss of 2 infants from last season, as years go, this troop is fortunate. In a normal year, only 1 or 2 babies would have survived at best. Survival is a serious business. For lemurs both young and old, the forest is tough and ruthlessly unforgiving. Sapphire's mother will have many more babies. Some of them will survive, and some will not. Luckily this year, the dry season was not as rigorous as it might have been. 3 out of 5 infants have successfully made it through those critical early months and can now look forward to an easier life. The 2 young females will never leave the troop. The young male will eventually seek out his future elsewhere in the forest. The twins have survived against all odds and are now creating havoc. For most young animals, life is a lottery. The line between life and death, a narrow one. Next season may bring better fortune for Sapphire's mother. But for the moment at least, she must come to terms with her loss.